It's Sunday night. Last night, we had graduation for our Bible college, and then today I got up and preached twice, and so I'm really tired, but I do better at night than I do in the morning. So I wanted to just take a moment and be with you and just share our topic for this entire week. And it's not a pleasant subject. It has exhausted me all week, but it's the subject of abandonment. And I'm going to tell you my story in segments, and we're going to talk about each one. The first one happened before I was born. So abandonment can happen before you're born. Let me explain that. My grandmother, my mother's mother, my grandma lost her husband, and her husband was only in his 30s, and he had four little children. So together, they had four children, one of which is my uh, mother. And my mother was two. And so my mother lost her daddy when she was only 2 years old, my grandpa. Then fast forward till my mom is 17 years old. She's pregnant for me. And my mom, who's lost her daddy when she was two, now loses her mother in a horrific fire. In fact, rumor has it that she was murdered. And eyewitnesses say they saw a woman banging on the door of a barn trying to get out, and the flames were raging, and no one could get that close to her to get her out. At that time, my mother was pregnant for me, and it upset my mother so that they, at that time, drugged her, sedated her, so that they could preserve the pregnancy. And so that was on New Year's Eve in 1955. I was born in February of 1956. And so my mother had lost her father at two, loses her grandmother when she's 17 and pregnant from me, and truthfully kind of loses herself for a few months. Even after I was born, they didn't go back to where the home place was until April. And my daddy always told the story that they stayed away from the home place. Mama just wasn't ready to go back. And when they finally went back to the home place, all the Christmas needles from the tree were on the ground and totally brown, and Daddy had to sweep them up. And that was really probably the first time Mommy was well enough to even hold me. So a generational curse of abandonment had struck my family. And if you go even before that, I just told you about my grandparents and my mother. But if you go back to my grandparents, my grandmother's mom and daddy both died in a plague in 1942, which left my grandmother orphan. And she also was one of four. And she was the only one that was adopted. So as I share with you in the RPM Daily today about being abandoned, I know what abandonment does. It can affect your income. It can affect your relationships. It can affect who you marry. It can affect if you follow through on instruction and your ability to be promoted on a job. It can affect how you raise your children. And it affects all of your decision making. So I hope you enjoy the information I'm going to share with you today, and I'll talk with you again tomorrow. And until then, know that you're accepted by God the Father.